वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविडं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव त्वमेव सर्वं गुरुदेव देव. Hari Om. We completed more or less the Panchadasi. Panchadasi means 15, and Panchadasi has 15 chapters. But in the process, we stopped in the middle of 6th chapter long time ago, and instead of continuing somewhere in the middle, we started from 7th and all the way up to 15. And some of the chapters are very, very big, and it took a long time. Now we want to complete the total 6th chapter so that the whole text is available online. All the talks will be available on YouTube thanks to Advaita Academy, and they cannot put all the Panchadasi chapters in one file, so each chapter is in one file. And if you go to YouTube and ask for Acharya Sadaji under Panchadasi, there is a chapter 6, and there are a few places where chapter 6 is said, but the one that has almost 15 videos have the most of the videos there. And if you look at the list of that, there are slokas verses covering up to 178 verses have been covered, but there are some gaps there. And if you look at, there is up to 57 verse, there is a topics are there, and from 58 to 74 the talks are missing. There may be a couple of talks that we took this text in the United States, and there the couple of days it did not record properly, and therefore it was not available in the live stream. So now we are going to do the 6th chapter, completing the rest of the verses that are there, that are to be done. We'll first do the verses 58 to 74, then we'll jump to verse 179 and all the way to the end. That way all the talks are available on YouTube, and one has to skim through and look for the Panchadasi chapter 6 and also of the missing talks series. Now we will cover the chapter 6 from 58 verse on. And the topic that is being discussed is that what is the root cause for the suffering. The root cause is ignorance. That's the Advaita Vedanta says that ignorance is the root cause. Even Visishta Advaita also says the avidya. Avidya is the root cause. So, but only difference between the Visishta Advaita and Advaita is what is the nature of avidya. In the case of the Visishta Advaita, avidya involves Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, the triad, and not knowing that I am a dependent entity on the Ishvara. Parameshwara is Sarvashaktiman and I am only Alpashaktiman. And Parameshwara is infinite Brahman, whereas I am a very tiny, in fact the Jivatma, the soul of the Jiva, according to the Visishta Advaita, is so small because it is of the nature of Anu. Anu means subtle. That subtlety is interpreted as smaller than the smallest, and that is essentially just like the atom. They consider if you take the tip of the hair, and if you make 1,000 pieces of that tip itself, and that smallest one is the size of the the soul. But at the same time, it has a capacity to pervade this whole body. So that soul or that Atma is tiny and it pervades this body. And you can imagine the Paramatma who is infinite, Brahman, and each Brahman means it includes everything. So he has both the Jagat and the Jivas, all Jivas. So there is a Jiva Bhinnatvam, Jiva Jagat Bhinnatvam, and Jiva Ishvara Bhinnatvam, Jagat Ishvara Bhinnatvam, and within the Jagat each object is different from the other. So therefore there are 5 fundamental differences in both the Visishtadvaita and Advaita. So, therefore the conscious entities and unconscious entities all are part of, or the Visheshanas, are the attributes of the total Brahman. Therefore it's called a Visishta Advaita, because Advaita is the total Brahman, that's only one, but in that Brahman there is a internal differences, Swagata Vedas. Swagata Vedas means there are differences of, like in the chair, the hands are different, the legs are different, the planks where you sit is different. Like that, there is a difference of each component. In the same way, there is each soul is different as a part of the total, and that is called Jiva Bhinnatvam. And in the totality comprising of the whole infinite, there is an infinite number of Jivas, and Jivas are not created because they are also eternal. And only problem is why they are suffering is because they are not conscious of the fact that he is Antaryamin, the Paramatma is all pervading, and I am a local entity, and I am depending on that. He is a controller, and whereas I feel I am the boss myself, and that's where the ignorance is. That is the nature of ignorance in the Visishtadvaita. When the ignorance goes away, that means I have to recognize that I am only a small factor in the totality, and my role is to serve the Lord. Like every part in the body has to serve the total being, because the stomach has to serve, the hand has to serve, the legs have to serve. Each have an attitude of service to the totality, and totality is one. At the same time, each component is different. So they call like an organs in the body, called organic relationship between the Jivas and Paramatma. Not knowing that I am an independent entity is the ignorance. Whereas in Advaita, this is that if as long as I am a limited guy, I am going to suffer. If there is a one other than myself, then there is a fear. But that's what the scripture says. Udaram antaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati. So therefore the problem of a jiva is same as the Brahman, but not knowing that I am Brahman, not knowing that I am infinite, I take myself as a finite entity by identifying myself with the body, mind and intellect. So a jiva is one, that consciousness which is existing entity which is same as Brahman, that is Satchidananda Swarupam, but occupied as though and identifying with the local equipments because of not knowing that I am Brahman. So therefore, how do you say so? How can I be infinite? That's what one has to investigate. And that's what the scripture says. If you say you are a conscious entity and consciousness is indivisible, because the scripture says Prajnanam Brahma. If you say you are an existent entity, existence is infinite, because the existence is what it's been referred to as Sat, and that was said Satta eva chit, and the before creation says Sadeva Saumya Idamagramasid. Existence alone was there before, and it became many, and that becoming many is transformationless transformation, just as the gold becoming many ornaments. So that is the how scripture defines pure Brahman and the relationship with the world. So not knowing that I am a pure conscious existent entity, I say, who are you? I say, I am this. That's a common the statement by everybody, anybody also. Because I say I am this is implied that I am ignorant of myself. Why do you say so? Because I cannot be this. Because all your biodata is I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. So the very fact that when I say I am this, how do you introduce yourself? I am so and so. So and so is this, either with respect to the qualifications at the body level or the qualifications at the emotional level. I am husband of, son of, father of, all these relationships. I can identify myself, I am so and so, or I am this. And this keeps changing depending upon how I relate myself to the world. I am an engineer, I am a doctor, I am a scientist and all that. That is my intellect. Identifying with my intellectual qualifications, I say I am this. So there is I am who knows this and this, which is an object of knowledge only. So this comes under Kshetram, and the knower of the Kshetram is called Kshetrajna, and whole 13th chapter talks about Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Vibhaga Yoga. So the difference between the subject and the object, and I cannot be an object because object is inert. I am a subject. Subject is a conscious entity, and subject is conscious of the object. That's why I say I am this body. When you touch me, when you touch my body, say you are touching me. But hey, I am touching only your body. Oh, that's me only. So when you say that I am this body, this is a body. Idam shariram kaunteya. This body, Kaunteya, Arjuna, is Kshetram. So this, which keeps changing in terms of my field of experiences that I do all my life, that all comes under this. And I am the subject who is an experiencer. Kshetrajnam shapimam viddhi sarvashetreshu bharata. So this idam is shariram, idam shariram kaunteya kshetramit abhidhiyate. That who knows is Kshetrajna, and that's how Krishna starts the whole 13th chapter, defining what is the nature of this Kshetrajna and the nature of Kshetram also. So I do not know that I am pure consciousness, because that 13th chapter says I am one consciousness, because Kshetrajnam chapimam viddhi sarvashetreshu bharata. In all fields, I am the knower. That means I am the conscious entity. So Krishna clearly identifies there. So called Mahavakyas. And that means the so-called conscious entity in the local equipment is same as the of the totality, that is Brahman. So not knowing that I am Brahman, I take myself what I am not as a Brahman. That is called the ignorance or a Mula Vidya. Other ignorance, I don't know chemistry, I don't know that, those are all transactional ignorances, but those are relative ignorance. And even after knowing all the transactional fields, I may be expert in chemistry or physics and whatever, still I am ignorant of myself. As long as I am ignorant of myself, I will be taking birth again and again and again, continuously, forever, until I realize who I am. That is what scripture says. And this is the Mula Avidya. Once through scriptural study and by analysis and contemplation, I recognize that I am pure Satchidananda. The ignorance that I have before, I don't say I am this. Only I may say for transactional purposes, I may say I am the. I don't have to go to the airport security and say I am Brahman. I have to say I am so and so. They will put me in jail if I say, or in the mental hospital. So for transactional purposes, I may use this for transactions, this body, this mind, this intellect, which is different from other body, other mind, intellect, knowing very well I am not this. So the ignorance, that Mula Avidyam, the fundamental ignorance, is gone, and through knowledge, and that's what discussed in the 6th chapter up to the previous sections, previous verses until 56. And there it says, now what happens? If I know, then the whole world is gone, because I am pure Brahman. In Brahman there is no Jiva Jagat Ishvara at all, because there is only transactional reality from the absolute point. In the Brahman, Ekameva Advitiyam, one without a second. There cannot be anything. Then how come there is still there a Jivan Mukta is there, a one who is liberated, and the one who are not liberated, all are still there, world is still there, even though you have understood that you are not Brahman? How do you explain that? He says, it takes some time for the Jnanam, even though Jnanam has occurred, for the effects of Jnanam, because the body, mind, intellect is formed due to Ajnanam. Because of identification myself with the body, mind, intellect as I am in the previous life, and committed the lot of activities, kartrutvam, and therefore there is a bhoktrutvam, and as a result all the vasanas, all these have been discussed before, and I accumulated vasanas, that which is called karma, and karma becomes the cause for my birth again. So from previous life karma, I had to be born in order to experience. This will go on, karma to janma to karma, until I realize that I am never a doer, even from the beginning also. Then these karmas do not belong to him, because I am not going to own it, because I never did anything at all for me to own it also. That knowledge will take place, but even though knowledge has occurred, the phalam, the effects of knowledge are still there. That will continue how long? Until this life, until the body, mind, intellect, which are products of previous karmas, drops down. Oh, that takes a long time. If I have knowledge, immediately it should take. That's what the Tarkikas say. And it says, if the Tarkikas say, that means this also takes, they also say it takes a moment. Here the moment is also a one life moment, because we are talking about this life itself is a moment in relation to the kalpas and all that. So one kalpa is many thousands of years involved, that one yuga itself. 4 yugas, Kali Yuga is very big one, and each is thousands of years, and each cycle of 4 yugas is recycled many times within the kalpa. So you can see many kalpas. This is beginningless creation, and therefore it takes a long time. So in that scale, this whole life of a jiva as an individual is only a fraction, and therefore it is a kshanam only. Now the question that was posed is, it says the effects and the original, you cannot separate the effect from the cause. So cause and effects are two different things according to Tarkikas. The cause itself has transformed into an effect. That is a statement from the Tarkikas wise. Why does that come into picture? Because in the analysis, this is the original consciousness is the cause, and the effect is jiva, jagat, and so on. If you say so, the effect as though transformed into the cause. So it is an irreversible transformation. That's what the people argue. So how does the world creation occur? So there are different theories of creation, and according to the common philosophies that we are familiar, one is the Advaita, another is the Visishtadvaita, and third is the Dvaita. These are three major that follows the Vedas. And in the Dvaita, which we are not going to touch it because there is a bigger problem in the sense that they do not accept Brahman as the material cause. Brahman is only intelligent cause because he is so pure he doesn't become Jiva at all. He is untouched by Jiva. Therefore, Brahman is completely different. The Ishvara is different from the Jagat. Whereas both Visishtadvaita and Advaita says he himself became many. How he became many again differs between these two, Visishtadvaita and Dvaita. So Visishtadvaita and Advaita. So in both cases they assume that not only he is the intelligent cause, Nimitta Karanam, he is Upadarana Karanam. So how does one become a many? One became a many. It's called in physics also, if there is a change of state of one into many, there has to be a force. That's called the driving force. So without driving force, there cannot be change of state. So if the change of state is occurring, that means there is a spontaneity involved. So therefore there has to be a driving force to make one to many. And Vedanta recognizes that there is a driving force, and the driving force is called the Maya Shakti. And Maya Shakti is a force. Force has to be locus. Where is it locus? Locus is the Ishvara. So we have Ishvara, we have Maya. This is all as though from the Brahman, the Ishvara Brahman takes the role of an Ishvara with the Maya Shakti, creates the whole universe. That's how the explanation is. In the Advaita, the himself became many. Tadaikshara bahusyam praja eti. So it follows the scriptures to the letter. It says he itself became many through using the Maya Shakti. So when it itself became many, the Lord himself so is the cause and the effect should be one and the same. So if God himself became many, then many should be gods only. In terms of many gods, same God into many gods. That's all it means. So he says that is true. But it takes the different names and forms because the many means not all same type, each one is different. So I am different, you are different, she is different, every insect in the world is different, and within the same tree, even every leaf doesn't look like other leaf. You can see the varieties and varieties in the creation itself. There are millions and millions of people, each has their own mind, their own intellect, their own body, and catering to their own needs. And it's a wonder actually. So if Bhagavan has become many in varieties of ways, then each one is a big one. At the same time, there's a difference between one and the other. So how did it become many? This is where Visishtadvaita and Advaita differs, in that sense that becoming many involves parinamam according to the Visishtadvaita. Parinam means transformation. One transforming into many. Transformation is what? Parinama is irreversible transformation. In science we study reversible and irreversible transformations. Reversible transformation is water becoming into ice, or ice becoming into water, and water to steam. Water can go back becoming ice, and again water can become steam, steam can becoming into water. These are all reversible process. Whereas this creation according to them is parinama, means irreversible process. So what is irreversible process? Just as the milk becoming into curds or yogurt. So when milk is transformed into the yogurt by a process, say, and that is not a reversible, you cannot get back to the milk starting with the curds. So that's called irreversible process, and that's called parinama. Whereas the creation is, once it is irreversible, I cannot become back again into that. That's what this statement is parinama. Whereas Advaita follows strictly the scriptural statement and says it's not a parinama, it is only vivarta. What's a vivarta? Vivarta is transformationless transformation. And the scripture is giving 3 examples for vivarta. See, yatha saumya ekena lohamanina sarvam lohamayam vignata vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam. Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam means it is only namke vaste creation. There is no real creation. That just as gold transforming into ornaments. There is no real transformation. It's only apparent transformation. That means gold remaining as gold, still appearing as rings and the bangles and the necklace and so on. So there's a varieties and varieties of ornaments are there, starting from the same one becoming into many, but each one in the many is differ from other. The attributes of gold is different, attributes of the ring are different from attributes of the bangle and the necklace and the bracelet. The utility of the ring and the bangle and the bracelet are different. The date of birth for each is different. The date of destruction, if the ring is transformed and melted and made into a ring or a bangle and so on, then there is a destructive transformation there. But gold, from the gold point, it is still transformationless transformation. Even when the ring is destroyed to become a bangle, gold remains as a gold. So that is what the scripture pointing out. It is that kind of transformation of one becoming into many. So this is the why scripture becomes a pramana, and this is why Advaita goes through logic of it in the essence of it. Therefore, the effect is not different from the cause itself in just different names and forms. The effect, a ring, is not different from the gold. It is still gold, but only apparent superimposed transformation. Nama, Rupa. Rupa is the form, that is attributes of the ring, which is different from attributes of the bangle, and because of the attributes like a shape and all that, we call this as a ring and that as a bangle, because the attributes are different. So now then Rupa differs, and therefore name also different. So Nama Rupatmakam Jagat, the whole world is nothing but names and forms. So how can you say one material, I see ring is different, the gold is different, the mud is different, and the necklace is different, the silver is different, and each one is different, and how can you say one? From now, that question should not arise to the modern scientists, where people study that every matter here is nothing but electrons, protons and neutrons. So from the point of fundamental truth, fundamental particles, it is nothing but electrons, protons and neutrons. They are not transformed into anything. They remain as transformationless transformation. Only external arrangements are different, giving rise to different materials and metals and so on and so forth. So there is no difference between the silver and the gold and the necklace and the mud and so on. Not the necklace, we are talking about matter, iron and so on, from the point of electrons, protons and neutrons, because the same fundamental particles appearing as many. So from that essence, it says one becoming many. Here you talk about one, but if you convert that into energy, it says energy becoming into many particles, and the many particles into many materials and all. So one becoming many, same applies. But energy is inert. This is only an example, but even the energy I am conscious of, consciousness is not the same as energy. Don't consider the energy as the fundamental. Its energies and matter are not really different other than the state functions. So now what is all this means? We are giving just a background in that. So according to the Tarkikas, as well as Visishtadvaitins, that the transformation is indestructible or destructible, that means Parinamavada, whereas Advaita follows the Vivartavada, and therefore the one can argue all sorts of things without knowing that. So in this 56 and before, he presents the arguments of the Tarkikas. The Tarkika means logicians. So Indian the logic is called Tarka Shastram, and the Tarka Shastram was developed centuries ago, and the modern Tarka Shastram called Navya Nyaya was developed in the 11th century, So you can see how advanced we are in terms of the logic also. And this Navya Nyaya itself is developed since then, and it's a very precise. The definitions are very precise and clear, and they spend hours and hours in trying to refine the definitions. That's what is the Nyaya logic means. And the Tarkikas have their own way of presenting how the one appearing into many. And here is Vidyaranya rejecting Tarkika arguments, and we go right into the 57 sloka after we come back and go into the details. This is only background for those for all what has been covered so far, since it's a long time ago we covered the slokas before. With this we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.